Hi guys, welcome back to Replays SG, where we unbox, review and show you how these games are played. So today we have Tiny Epic Dungeons, and this is another game by Gamelyn Games and designed by Scott Elms. So this is, I think, one of their many series, but every series is always using a different kind of mechanics and a different theme. So this time around we are getting a dungeon crawler, which is very interesting because usually dungeon crawlers, they involve like a very big box. And they have miniatures, they have like all the different dungeon tiles and all the different items, but then in this case we are still getting interesting dungeon crawler experience in just this small tiny box, which they are famous for. So as you can see the sides, and this is a game for 1 to 4 players if I'm not wrong. Yep, so 1 to 4 players here, and it plays for about 30 to 60 minutes and ages for 14 and up. So yeah, this is another series that I'm really interested and looking forward to. So I backed this game back in about I think last year. So that's when about the Tiny Epic Pirates actually fulfilled. So they usually have this year-to-year kind of release of their games, and but then this year I think they haven't come up with their new game yet. But either way, this is the deluxe edition, which means that in their usual fashion, they will usually have a mini expansion. So in this case, it's the potions expansion, so which is also inside. And then this is also their first time that they are going to include minis in their Tiny Epic series. So very curious and interested to try this out. But many people actually mentioned that this is a really difficult game, as well as the different icons on the dungeon cards or the equipment cards are actually difficult to read. But there's also a FAQ and a reference sheet that's online, which I'll try to link down below as well. So yeah, let's get this open. So okay, before I open up the box, so from the sides you can actually see that it can't really close fully, and that's because I think there's really quite a lot of contents inside here, and they really packed it so much that they can't really add any more stretch goal, as you can see in their Kickstarter page. Yeah, so basically this is really as much as they can give you in this tiny box. So yeah, so let's see how they actually arrange their things inside. So once again, this is Tiny Epic Dungeons. So first of all, let's look at the back of the lid. So there's this nice artwork. So it's a shiny kind of surface. Yeah, but it's not the UV kind of material or finishing that's on the box. So not sure if you can see, but the word here is actually they have the like UV finishing, which is like brighter and glossier. So this is actually the entrance to the dungeon, which is really nice, and there's this torch which actually plays an important role, as well as this symbol over here. Yeah, so everything is very related, and yeah, very nice. Okay, so since the component is quite small, I'll just zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so first off we have the adventure manual. So there's no campaign aspect to this in terms of the story. Yeah, but also before I forget, I've also got the expansion, which is the Tiny Epic Dungeon Stories. So this I don't really think that it adds like kind of a campaign to it, but then it adds more like a objective to every game that you're playing. And they also have like a few more goblins, the minions, the mini bosses sort of, as well as more dungeon cards, more items, which is their loot cards, as well as more heroes and more bosses. So this I will cover in another video, so I can slowly go through the contents with you. So yeah, but back to the base game. So once again, this is the adventure manual. So yeah, very nice. all the icons are at the back, but from what I see in those videos, there's like a leaflet because there's a lot of icons, and they actually like sort of really combine it in its own like different combinations, and it kind of becomes their own language. So yeah, but that's also one of the main complaints that people have with this game, is because the icon is actually quite confusing, and the different way they like put it and combine it is actually not very readable to most people. So that's why they have the rule reference or the icon reference for each of the different cards, or the loot cards or the dungeon cards. Yep, so let's take a look at what's inside. So we have the component list. This, I'm not wrong if they're actually showing the components for the non-deluxe version. Yeah, or rather like something like the retail version. So there's actually quite a lot of pages here. Yeah. So as always with Tiny Epic Tiny Epic series games, they usually have quite a lot of rules. But it's still very interesting, like how they actually pack all these games into such a small box. Like other than making like all the components smaller. Yeah. So okay, so yeah, that's all the boss related stuff. So this is the rulebook, which they call the Adventurer's Manual. So I'll put it aside. So next up we have the expansion. So this is the, you can see over here, Potions and Perils expansion. So these two we have is the Minion. So they are the Minion Meeples. Yeah, so we have also all the different cards here, which I will go through first, I guess. So you can see here all the minions, and they're also in a very interesting color. Like usually they do come in grey, but this is a bit bluish and purplish. Okay, so let's take a look at all these. Yep. So we have this, which is the mini expansion rulebook. So we have new potions, 2 new goblins, 2 new minions, 1 dungeon card, and 2 bosses. Yep. So that's the setup. So it's a very simple expansion, but what I like is that it adds goblin varieties, because I think the goblins in this game, if you play through a like long enough game, you actually like cycle through the goblins a few times actually, like at least once, I think. Yeah, so there's also 2 new minions and 2 new bosses, which is always good to add some content to the game. So let's just look at this first. So at the back of the boss mats, so this is the one that you also get in the base game, so it's the same for the back. So this is what they call Act 1, and this is the one that they have to we have to actually defeat the minions. So if it's a 1 or 2 player, we have to defeat 2, then with a 3 player and 3, and then so on. So for each minion that we defeated, we can actually put the hearts here, and then when we actually complete the track, we can flip it over to the boss side. So for example, for the Lich, this boss actually have like total of 8 health, and the hearts that you actually use to track this progress is actually used to track the health, meaning that there's actually 2 hearts, and each heart will actually track 8 health. So all these spots here, if like your heart tracker is at the 4th spot, you can't actually move any lower until you've like lure the boss to a certain location, which is the one that you have spawned the minions with. So you have to lure them to these locations, and then before you can reduce the health further. Yeah. So this is also the skills of the boss, and they have these very interesting steps here. So you actually enter the boss lair from here. So this is where you have to, if you actually land here and you start attacking the boss at this spot, you actually have to minus a cube in these 2 spots, and then if you're further in, you actually get extra bonuses. So for example, these 2, you actually get 2 more focus. Yep. So this is one of the boss, and this is the boss stats here. and the artwork is actually pretty nice as well. Okay, so this is the Lich, and then we have the Demon Lord. So in this case, we only have one spot here that we have to lure him to, and we also have a different skills here. So the boss can actually be lured out into the dungeon itself instead of the lair here. So we actually use a marker to mark it, which I'll show you guys later. But then if you get the add-ons, which is Meeple for all the different bosses, then you use the Meeples itself. So yeah, that's the two bosses here that we get. So this is the minions, which I will show you later. So over here we actually get the square cards, which is I'm not sure if it's the first, but I think it's the first time that we see square cards. Yeah. So this is, you can see they always have this linen finish, and the cardstock is fine. Yeah, it's not very stiff, but it feels okay since like the card is pretty small. So yeah, and then this is the dungeon card for the potions. So you can see that we have like this will probably spawn a goblin, and then we have like different things that you can do. So yeah, so this is the part where people have been complaining regarding the icons. So we also have a straight path here. So every time you flip open the dungeon card, so you actually have to arrange them in such a way that you can actually enter it. So yeah, and these are like the special actions that you can do. I think this is like -2 focus to get a new potion card, which is here. So yeah, this is one of the dungeon cards. So this two we have the Wraith. So the minions are much stronger than the goblins, and they have more health. They also have more defense. They also can get to move faster compared to a normal goblin. And yeah, so this is one of the ones that you have to defeat, and we can see that this is from the potions mini expansion. And this is the Vampire Imp, which has even more health. Yeah, and they do have like slightly different stats here. Yeah. So this icon here just means like the monsters or the baddies in the dungeon. So these are two new minions, two new goblins. So it's the same. Yeah, they're exactly the same. So this is their speed and their defense. So all goblins only have 1 health. So as long as you're able to deal 1 damage after deducting the defense, then you can actually kill the goblin. So I believe by killing this you can so this is like what the icon is probably trying to say. So you can kill a goblin, you can actually get a new item and a new potion. Yeah. So that's the new goblin. So now you have the potions. So yeah. So that's the epic mark OAO. So that's probably if you use it you can have gain 3 health and 5 defense. So that's gaining the focus and a bottle of energy to movement, and heal to max health, max focus, so some movement and agility, so some focus and magic, and then your strength. Yeah. So actually that's not a lot to be honest to work with. Like all these potions, there's just 8 of it, but either way it's a mini expansion, so there wouldn't be too much content. So let's take a look at the Meeples. So again, the Meeples are all screen printed. So this is the, we can see the reflection. Yeah, so this is like a, yeah, it's a wooden material, but yeah, the printing is pretty nice. So this is actually for the oh no, this is for the Wraith. So it's nice that actually they use a similar base color, so that it's easier to recognize. So yeah, it's double-sided, so that's nice. And then we have the Vampire Imp, which is yellow. Yeah, and they look pretty alike as well. Yeah, so actually this will go on to the mat instead. Alright, so this is the potions expansion. So let's take a look at all the different components here. So let's first take a look at the dice, which is quite interesting, and it's a very nice dice as well. And I think this is one of the nicer or more interesting mechanics of the whole game. So again, these are very familiar kind of material that they use, and they also have the souls, as you can see. So yeah, that's for the black one, and then the red one is the one for the monsters. So there's like a black kind of marbling over here. So yeah, you have to roll these dice when the monsters attack. So yeah, these are supposed the number of damage, and like these to move the torch track down another level. So yeah, the others is just, yeah, this is like, I think this is ignore the defense. Yeah, so that's the monster dice. And the interesting thing about the hero dice is that it's also 1 all the way to 6, but then for number 1 we actually get a +1 and a 2 focus. So the number 1 and number 2 is actually a modifier. So when you roll, then you actually have to roll a base number first. For example, this is a base number, like for 6. So if you take it down, then it's 5, then 4, and 3. So 3 is the lowest base number. And then anything you roll that is a modifier, for example this number 2 will add on to number 3. So this result is a 5. And let's say 5 is enough to complete a skill check, and then you roll another of these +1, so you can choose not to use this, and then you can gain the 2 focus instead. But for the ones that you use for the actual skill check, you can actually just ignore the focus here. Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting mechanics. And then you can actually use focus to tick this up by 1, which goes to +2. Yeah, so that's how the dice work. And I suppose number 6, if you don't use it, you can actually gain 1 health. So let's just try. So in this case, I will be getting probably a 7 and a 3. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can use like 2 base numbers together. So I would suppose if you can't, then there's a 7 and a 3 that you can't use. But you can actually use the focus if you pass the skill check. So that's the dice. Okay, so let's take a look at all the different tokens here. So you have quite a lot, so let's just pour them out. So it's interesting how Tiny Epic always like store all their components, like all the wooden components, in a single bag. Like they don't actually like separate it out. So all these are the goblins, and we have our markers here, the energy markers. And we have our minion health trackers, our hero health trackers, and all our different lock for our traps. And these are the places that we need to lure the bosses to. Not sure why we need 5. And these are the different minions that we have. And let's try to arrange them. So we have 8 minions. Oops, I can't see it. Yep, so we have like 8 minions here, and these are the okay, so these are the outer markers. So they are one-sided, and yeah, the other one is basically the one that you saw at the back of the lid, the symbol. So yeah, this is the one that you use to track. And then we have the different minions. So we have some similar color ones, actually like almost two of each color. So yeah, so we have like a spider here, and something that look like an orc, and some other minions. And we have this This is supposed to be the gelatinous cube and some other minions and the snake. So this is like the skeleton minion, which I'll show you guys side by side with the minion cards. So yeah, so again they are like double-sided. And then we have the torch tracker. Yeah, so this is also double-sided. It's an interesting choice of color that you use, like the green color as the flame. Okay, and then this we have the boss marker, which I've mentioned earlier. If you were to get the add-on for the boss Meeples, so you won't be using this. You'll be using the boss Meeple itself, which is similar to the minions, but then they resemble the boss instead. And then next we have all of our really tiny health trackers and focus trackers. So this is the similar tiny epic fashion. So they're really small trackers to track the different stats and things that you need to keep track of during the game. So yeah, so I'm not too sure whether they can like actually switch it up, this way of tracking things, since it's pretty small and it's quite prone to like bumping. So yeah, maybe they can like don't know, like innovate something, like maybe a clip or a small clip or something to clip onto the cards. Yeah, maybe that might work a bit better. But anyway, and then we have these really huge trap tokens. So these are the ones that after you've gone through a trap and you've done a skill check to actually remove the trap, you can actually use this to mark it. So I'm not too sure why do they have to be like so extremely big. Yeah, because as for the trap cards, if you were to go into a trap card, you have to actually do a skill check, and if you pass, then you get to have another skill check to actually remove the trap. But then if you were to fail the skill check for the trap, you actually, like, I think, suffer some negative effects. Could be damage, could be like some status, I think. But then in that case, if you don't remove the trap, the next person that goes into the card will actually have to do this thing all over again. So yeah, so that's the trap tokens, which I will put back. Oh, and we almost forgot about these goblins, which is actually really interesting. So there are actually many losing conditions to this game. So one of the losing condition is that when you have 4 goblins out on the field or on the dungeon, and you have to put up the 5th goblin, then that's when you actually lose. Another losing condition is when the torch goes down, or all the way down to 0, and that's how you lose as well. And I think another condition is when your heroes, I think it's when all the heroes is unconscious, then I think that's when you fail as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot of losing conditions, so that's why many of them actually say that it's a really difficult game. So yeah, so these are the ones to track the different goblins. So that's very nice. So I'll just leave all this off to the side, and let's take a look at the bigger cards. So this is where you have your hero cards. It is pretty nice. I like how they have so many other heroes. So I believe during the Kickstarter campaign, we actually got, I think, 2 or 4 more heroes. So yeah, and let's take a look. First, take a look at this part. So we have 2 sides. So this is the Doom side, and so you can see that this is Act 2. So this is Act 1, and in the boss cards you can also see that we have Act 1 here. Yeah, so as we are going through the dungeons and revealing and trying to find the minions, this is considered to be Act 1, and as we flip over to the other side, this will be the Act 2. So I believe you do the same thing with this torch tracker as well. So if you are 4-person playing, rather if you are playing with 4 heroes, then you start the torch track here. For 3 heroes, 2 heroes, and I suppose 1 hero also starts here, because I mean, if you are playing solo, you still have to like control to two heroes, or at least two heroes. So these are different goblin tracks. So if you were to flip open the first one, you have to put the goblin card here so that you know that this number 1 goblin is referring to this particular goblin here. And as goblin increases in the dungeons, or the number of goblins that increases, so this will actually make the goblins a lot harder to defeat. So yeah, so this is also, I think, a special action that we can take. Yeah, and this is when we defeat I think a minion. Yeah, so I suppose if you defeat a minion, you actually increase the torch track, so this gives you a bit more time. And I believe the torch track actually reduces after every player's turn, so it's not after each player's turn, in fact. So it's not actually like a round, well, after one round then the torch track goes down. So yeah, so once you found the minions, you actually flip over to the Act 2, which you start in a different spot, and then from here you can actually use this new track to defeat the boss. So it's a very simple card. So once again, you still have the linen finish and a very nice cardstock as always. So that's the torch track, and then this we have all this which what looks like a player reference, so we have lots of it. So yeah, but actually the flip side is actually your heroes. So over here we have, oh, we have only 8 heroes. Yeah, so I suppose the retail one should have, I think, less than 8. Yeah, because I think some of them are unlocked. So here we have Goku, a half-orc barbarian. So we always have so different heroes actually have like different number of health and focus combination, and this is the rest action that you can do to increase health and increase your focus. And I suppose every hero, yeah, I think every hero will have this special action, which is to reduce your focus to actually manipulate your dice result. So that's our ability that we can use. I think when you're attacking, do a melee or a ranged attack, you can actually minus 3 focus to add 2. So yeah, so in this case it's actually pretty hard because the focus is quite little. And of course, the main point, or rather a big point of this game, is that we can actually get loots, which we can equip onto our heroes, and I'll show you the different loots later. But essentially you can have like two one-handed or rather 2 hand slots and an armor slot, and you can also hold 2 trinkets and 2 spells, and I think you can hold another thing, but I'm not too sure what is that called, but there's another one that you can hold. I remember it's 4 different equipments, yeah, or maybe it's trinkets, yeah, I'm not sure, but either way, this is that. And we actually have like this symbol here, this one here, which I'm not too sure what is it for. It says D, maybe it's for the base game. So here we have Eterna, so that's the elf sorceress, and we have more focus, lesser health, and 2 different, oh no, the same one. So in this case, this is the Seeking Bolt. So this is like a spell. So what's special about spell is that you have to spend focus to cast it. So this is actually 1 damage, which is apparently quite little. But then what's weird, or rather like interesting, is that you have to actually pass the skill check, meaning you have to roll these dice, 3 dice, to actually pass this skill check of 5. So, and then I believe this is, you can hit up to 4 spaces away, and this curly symbol between the 5 and the purple scroll means that this doesn't have to be like a straight line, so you can actually go like zigzag into any different rooms. So that's how the magic works. So once you pass the skill check and spend the 2 focus, that's when you can actually start dealing the damage. But I believe one good point is also that because there's she can actually roll 3 dice, so there's higher possibility that he or she can actually pass the skill check and maybe have some leftover to increase the focus. So I guess that's one good point. So also one thing about these slots is that if you can actually use if you actually carve out this slot, then you can't actually use this ability anymore. Yeah, so that's interesting. So that's research. You can actually get a spell. These are Ulysses. So that's a dwarf cleric. So you can actually, I suppose you can heal heroes. Yeah, so they all have different movement, speed, and defense here. Here we have our Win Kilias, which is elf ranger. So we have stealth. That's, I think you can move through. -2 focus to actually move through goblins. I'm just guessing at this point. So yeah. Next we have Moonblade, which is a wood elf rogue. Actually, it's a pity that they didn't do it in a way such as Tiny Epic Kingdom, I think. The one that you have to, there's a bit like Pandemic, you have to go round and round area. So they actually have this very nice artwork on the back for the different heroes, as well as a little bit of flavor text and a write-up of the history. So that's really nice. Yeah. So it's a pity that they didn't do it, but they replaced it with this here. Yeah. This is Moonblade, a wood elf rogue. So again, every hero actually roll different number of dice depending on what they are trying to do, or what skill check they are trying to test for. So this is Sir Lennon, a human paladin. There's a Garen the Blue, there's an ancient wizard. That's pretty cool. And then we have Thoradin, the fire braid, the dwarf fighter. And then back to our main one. Okay. So again, once when I'm showing you guys the miniatures, I will actually show you this as well, so that you know which one I'm referring to. So next, so all this is the bosses, and we have all this. So here you have a size standard dragon, and we have Inferno and Scorch as the skills. Next we have the Hydra. So you have like trees, kind of like representing the different heads. Next we have the Goblin King. That's very nice. So I suppose like kind of like spawn more goblins. So it's actually quite interesting how they actually use this ability to like make it look like you're actually fighting against the actual monster or actual boss, because they all feel so different. So there's a plate, this is a pharaoh, and a sacrifice. So this, I suppose, whenever the Scotch, the torch track goes down, then maybe this might happen. So there's a Gorgon, there's a chokehold, and a stone gaze. There's the Seer, Cosmic Shave, and a Mind Blade. Yeah. So and then we head back to the dragon. So we have like three different heroes. So together with the expansion, we actually have 8 bosses to play with. That's interesting. Okay, so next we are going to have all these dungeon cards, which I'm going to just lay it here so that you can dare to deal with the focus. So we do have quite a lot of dungeon cards, and yeah, it's always good to have variety. So let's split the cards out. So this is the one that's it's double-sided, because this is the place that we first start. Then we have the skills. I mean, these are, I think, the spells. Then we have more dungeon cards. We have our minions, which is probably 8, and our loot cards, and then our goblin. So I think we can start with the goblin first. So they all have very interesting names. Hope you guys can see it. Okay, so we have the Stabby Goblin. So we have a speed of 4, defense of 4, and yeah, all the other stuff. So this like times every goblin +1. So if there's more goblin, they'll do more damage. So otherwise, if it's just him, then it's probably like, I think minus. Oh, that's actually quite. So it's -1 times the number of goblin +1. So there's 1 goblin here, probably himself. So that's 2. So that's -2 damage. So that's quite a lot actually. So we have 2. So we are seeing this symbol again. So I really think that it's supposed to be the base game. So we have 2 Stabby Goblins here. And then we have the Boomy Goblins. So they can move 2. Yeah, you have a movement here and a -2. So there's a straight up -2 regardless. But still there's this like multiplier for the different goblins. Alright, I think I've switched over this new camera so that you can actually have a closer look. I realize it's pretty small from the screen. So once again we have the stabby goblin, which is here. So yeah, so this is the one that I was saying. So as the number of goblins increases, so you actually like kind of deal more damage, which you actually have to control. So yeah, that's the stabby goblin, and then we have 2 boomy goblins. Yeah, so actually as you can see, the number of goblins is actually pretty limited. So yeah, this is the boomy one, and then we have 2 of it, and then we have the pokey goblin, also 2 of it. Oh no, we have 1 pokey and 1 shooty, so we have like a total of 4 different kind of goblin. So I suppose these are more difficult to deal with. Okay, so that's the shooty goblin. Yeah, so that's all the goblins we have, and I quite like how it's how they kind of separate the backs into very vibrant colors. So that's the goblin. Okay, so next up, let's show you guys the different minions. So over here we have the ooze. Oh, it's not the gelatinous cube. So this is the ooze, and we have like a interestingly like a smaller kind of skeleton inside, which is quite detailed. So that's cool, and we have our different stats here. Again, there's lots of icons. I'm not too sure what all of them mean. So we have the ooze, and then this we have the triglodyte. So that's this one here. So they actually look pretty similar. And then we have also, it's actually minus health and focus. So next we have the minotaur, which is this one. So they actually, yeah, they really look alike, so that's easy to distinguish, but there's lesser health as well. And this is the ogre. So this is a -2 health, also not a lot of health to begin with. Maybe they have more defense. Yeah, almost, I think it's average defense. So next we have the troll, which is this one. Okay, very nice. So it would be nice if they can use like blue color, or rather the color at the background here. So there's a -1 health and add 1 goblin. Yeah, I'm not sure if you spawn these or you add the number of goblin as damage, but that's the troll. And we have this skeleton, which I'm right. So it does look like a skeleton. So yeah, lots of movement. Oh no, average movement, but lots of health. And then next we have the dungeon crawler, or something like all the heroes. So this is lesser movement, 5 defense. So this also minus health and focus. So that's the one here. And then the last one is the dire serpent. So there's a -3 health, and yeah, but then there's only a total of 6 health. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. It would be nice if it's a bit more greenish, but okay. So it's nice, it's cool. And then let's so let's take a look at the spells. So the spells are here. Okay, sorry if the color of the camera is shifting. Yeah, but at least you guys have a closer and up close look. So again, if you guys want to see the thickness of the card, so that's the thickness. It's okay if you've owned a Tiny Epic series game before. That's just how it's going to look like. It's pretty much the same. So yeah, there's A and B. Okay, maybe it's just 2 goblins. Yeah, because it's a chain lightning. Suppose like 2 target, -1 health. So it's like 2% of it, I guess. So yeah, so as you can see, all of them you have to do a skill check, followed by a focus, using some focus to actually cast this effect. So as you can see, like the different number of icons is really like a lot, so you kind of actually have to understand all this. So there's our Holy Abundance. Now Cloud of Death, so that's just straight up deduct damage, and lots of focus to deduct more damage, some focus to do something. So I think you can do a skill check with +3, I suppose. That's a Delver's Luck. Yeah, with some Chinese Asian coins. So this is the Conjurer's Gambit. So if you fail, you actually get to yeah, so I think this is summoning the goblins. So yeah, there's a slightly lesser as compared to this, slightly lesser focus cost, but to do the same damage, and it's a lesser, or it's a 1 extra range, but you get this as a trade-off. There's a Giant Strength, so that's -3 to increase your melee attack. Whoops. So yeah, that's the Eagle's Swiftness, that's for range. That's the Tempest of Arrows, so -5 focus to -1 health to goblins, I guess, and then you can go some other way to like -2 damage to somebody else, -2 focus to flip over a dungeon card, and then do this. So that's a Dark Bargain. -4 health, increase health to max, and then summon a goblin. That's Invisibility, -2 health, sorry, -2 focus, you get to move past goblins. Not sure if like this means like a extra, you know, step or something, extra action. So that's the Elemental Charge. Not too sure why this, maybe this is like current Tau. And then we have the Claw of Darkness. So if you fail, the torch actually goes down by 1. So that's all the spell that you have. It's actually quite okay, the number of spells. Yep. So yeah, this is okay. This is fine. Unlike the goblins, it's actually not a lot. So this we have the loot. So loot is a bit of a set collection. So this we can see the slot that it goes into, and the thing that it helps you with. So I think this, whenever you do a range attack, you get +1 focus. That's a hook shot. +1 courage or strength. There's a ruby figurine, +1 more dice. That's interesting. +1 more agility. Not sure how you're gonna roll. Like, they only give you 3. So you already maxed out at 3. Not sure how you're gonna get another one. So there's a plus purple dice. There's a Sun Hammer, Spike Buckler, Elven Chain. So actually move faster by wearing the chain. Okay. So there's a Violet Kit. So there's a +1 defense for whatever this is. This is a ranged attack and a magic attack, I think. Yep, so that's Cursed Dragon Scale. So here comes the set collection. So this is the lion set, and there's a symbol here most likely. Yep. So as you collect more of this set, so this is the one, the hand, this is the other hand. So you have 2 of these equipped, you actually get to have this bonus here. So whenever you do an melee attack, you actually increase your health by 1. So that's when you have 2, as you can see for number of squares here. So if you have 3 or 4, then you get to have +2 and +3 on top of all these that you are doing. So these are supposed to get to reroll. So yeah, so you -2 focus to add 1. There's a +1 defense. So that's the armor, and then we have the trinkets. Not sure why this is a trinket, or maybe it's the accessories. Right. So now you have the bear. So this is, I think, +1 to anything that you are trying to test for. So that's a war horn and the studded. So yeah, these are yeah, suppose it's accessories. So actually if you have the full set, and you can actually become quite powerful. So here you have the Panther, so it's a +1, +2. So there's movement, like I suppose you can move through like goblins. So I think supposedly if you have to move to a tower with a goblin, you actually have to like stop or end your movement there. So last set we have is the Phoenix. So we are adding like focus for this one. That's again, if I haven't mentioned or if you haven't realized, the art on this is really nice. And somehow like the square cards just make it work. So there's a ring, and then we have the ropes of the Phoenix. So that's all the loots. Again, this video is getting quite long, so I'll go through the dungeons card quickly. So this is the starting one, that's the entrance. So this is the altar that we have to find finally. So you actually build your decks in 3 steps. So I'll just show you here. So for example, the bottom one will be the one that has some cards plus the boss lair shuffled, and then the middle ones will be the ones you have the minions shuffled, and then the tops are the other random ones. Yeah, I believe that's how you set it up. So another losing condition is also when you actually have to put out, you have to find the boss lair, but your dungeon is already maxed out. So you can actually do your dungeon in actually a 7x7 square or grid. So if you can't put out any more cards and you can't find the boss lair, that's also one way that you lose the game. So this is the trap. Yeah, so these two, like you can see this symbol, this to remove the trap, you have to do a strength test of 6. If you pass, I suppose you get a loot or a spell. If you fail, then you get this, I suppose. Or maybe this two is related to this, yeah, I'm not too sure. So this is another trap. This is another trap. Another trap. Also another trap. There's a lot of trap here. There's a vines. So it's mostly like deducting health. So this is the one that you have to spawn a minion. A goblin. Yeah. So yeah, this is cool. I said, suppose this is on flip. If you are here, then you -1 health. It's like a treasure. It's another treasure without the spawning of a goblin. So that's like a vault. Interesting. So again, the artwork here is pretty cute and interesting. So yeah, not too sure what's this. There's like a kind of a lever for something, or to get loots maybe. So here we have some cauldron. So yeah, this also again spawn goblin, and can actually, I think, -4 focus to increase the torch track. So yeah, very interesting actually. Quite a lot of different like interesting artworks. So that's -3 health to increase to max health. I suppose this star is a free action if I'm not wrong. So you haven't seen the, yeah, so this is the, so this one you actually spawn the so you can see the difference. These are spawning the goblin, these are spawning the minion. So that's, yeah, that's all the different ones. Actually they are pretty much similar. So you actually deduct 2 health if it's a minion that you flip open. So you can see here, it's actually pretty interesting. Yep. So you can actually, as you flip through, you just have to look for this symbol. So that's all the dungeon cards. So next and lastly, we have the minions. Let's open this up. So the minions are small, but it's not Destiny small. So if you actually played Destiny before, then you know what I'm talking about. I think some of the minions are really small, despite this box size, which you can still kind of fit it in standing up. Yep. So it's still standable, quite okay. And as far as I can tell, it's really quite detailed. Yeah, it's very actually quite nice. Is the I can't really see this person. Trying to find, is this the elf? This elf ranger, I think. Yep, very nice. And you can see the cape, the little holes at the back of the cape, the armor. You can even see like the face and the quiver at the back. That's very nice. So next we have, this is the dwarf. Yeah. So this is the dwarf fighter. So yeah, this is actually pretty detailed, and it has some like weight to it as well. It's not very light, which I like. I don't like those kind of minis that is actually like way too light. And this actually has some like heft to it, although you can actually see the knobs here, but it's nice. You can see the scratches of the shield, and this will really look like very nice if it's painted. And sadly, I don't have the talent to paint this. So yeah, very nice. And next up we have, oops, these two is linked together. Okay, so that's the small little this is the dwarf cleric, and they do really have like different in size or height. That's cool. So this is the dwarf cleric. You can see I suppose these are like the chainmails over here. That's nice. And the braided hair. Yep. And yeah, that's very nice. Again, the color is weird. There is like a bluish kind of color, but then yeah, I like the quality of it. So next we have, suppose it's this guy, Sir Leonard. So that's the human paladin. Yep. Once again, very detailed. I mean, you can't really see the like, it doesn't really portray the texture of the thing, but then at this range, I think it's good enough. And for this game price, I think for the miniatures, quality is actually pretty good. Yeah. So that's him. Very nice. I wish I know how to paint them so that they look like way nicer. So that's the that's the wood elf rogue. This is our moon blade. So we have a double blade wielding heroine. So there's like a little yellow thing here, not too sure what's that. Yeah, so it's appearing a lot paler or more pale in the photo, in the video. That's nice. Okay, so next we have, this is him, I'm guessing. He's Garan the Blue, Ancient Wizard. So we have a spell book. It actually has some engravings there and a staff. So that's very nice. Then we have the cape here and another weird thing. Okay, this can be removed. Yep. So last two we have, this is the elf sorceress. So that's the one. Very nice pose actually. The hair is quite detailed as well. And then lastly we have the Goku, the half orc barbarian. So there's a very nice axe here. And all the different accessories that he's wearing. And we even see like the different like dimples of the axe over here. And some scales or some stuff like feathery stuff that he's wearing. Nice. Okay, so that's all for the different minis. Okay, so yeah, that's all that I have to show you guys. So let's try to put all this back in. So you have to put all the cards first. So again, the cards are pretty to the brim already, as you can see here. So I think if you were sleeving it, you probably have to like split it into two sides. So yeah, let's go on to the sleeve test. So okay, so first up we have the big cards, which is this is 88 by 125 millimeters, and you can see this fits the big cards very well. So this is like kind of like a standard for the Tiny Epic series kind of big cards. So this is the one here. You can see the top here, there's not too much spacing left, and we have, yeah, actually it's pretty snug. It's not tight, but then it's like really just nice. So that's for the big cards. So this will be the torch track, the boss cards, the hero cards, and yeah, that's all. Yeah, basically these three types of cards. So next up, for all the other cards, this is your loots, your spells, your dungeon cards, minions, and goblins. So this is the one you should get. So this is 70 by 70, and you can see over here it fits really well, and I think they actually went for the more standard sizes. So yeah, actually more accessible for everyone to get their sleeves. So yeah, again, not too much left over, and the sides are just nice. I can show you the way that it's put in. So it's actually, yeah, you can see it's not tight, and yeah, I can actually push it in quite quickly. So that is very nice. So yeah, this is 70 by 70. They are all by Sleeve Kings, and it's 60 microns. So it's not so thin as compared to Mayday, the regular kind of quality ones, but it's not so thick as like the Mayday premium ones. So I like this 60 microns, as you can see, not too thick. Yeah, so they don't add too much bulk to your game boxes. So this is for the sleeve test. Okay, so now I'll try to like squeeze everything back, which I suppose I can. Actually, everybody does have to stand here, and you can actually fit it back in. Yep. And this goes here to stop them from moving, and then here, and you can actually fit everything back quite nicely. So this one you just have to shake it a little bit so that the meeples go down. Then just put it in this way, and the book followed by this. Okay, so now that we have a very nicely closed, so there's no wiggle. Yep, so that's how I can rebox this. So once again, we have come to the end of the unboxing video. So if you like what you saw here, do give it a thumbs up, and do consider subscribing, and let me know what's your favorite Tiny Epic series and whether you've really enjoyed the dungeons lineup. And yeah, so stay tuned for the new unboxing for this game, which will be coming soon. So yeah, and thanks everyone for watching, and bye bye.